Yep, it says so on my side.
We're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's author chat. If you're wondering about my crazy makeup, it's because I'm filming for Halloween, so deal with it. Today with me, I have the wonderful... Oh, sorry about that. Today with me, I have my friends Sarah and Nikki, who you've seen on all my author chats so far, which is pretty freaking awesome. And we're talking about other media as writing inspiration. So please join in and say hi. Yep. Okay. Some words from my lovely guests before we start with the conversation.
Okay, shall I go first? Hi everyone, if you don't remember me from the previous videos, I'm Nikki and I write mainstream fiction as Nicki J, Markus and LGBT fiction as Astu Donia, and I'm also a freelance editor. I'm coming to you from Australia. It's quite late at night, so if it looks like I'm nodding off, just give me a nudge.
Oh God. I'm the lucky one today. In terms of time, it's just afternoon for me, and I think the worst off is Sarah because it's what, 7 a.m.?
It's 7, yes. But I'm halfway through my coffee, so that counts for something. So.
I'm at mug number 2, I think, for the day. So I'm still waiting for it to kick in. So
it'll kick in eventually.
When I want to go to sleep, right?
At bedtime, yeah.
Okay, so I thought we should start by talking about all the things we fangirl about, because I think we come from very varied hobbies. Because I, for example, love anime, I love games, I love a lot of TV series, and I've been talking about them on my channel a bit because I made a top of animes that I love. So I thought you guys should share what other media you watch or you consume a lot, and then we'll talk about writing and how it influences it.
Do you want to go first, Sarah?
Sure. Mostly I do horror stuff. I do different levels of horror stuff. Like I like slasher movies, but I don't like what I call torture porn, where it's just watching someone be skinned and that kind of stuff. But I don't mind like a dude with a machete picks you up in your sleeping bag and beats you against a tree. I don't know why there's a difference there, but there's some sort of difference.
I agree, there's a difference.
It's not nearly as weird to me. But I like things that are so extremely silly and so bizarre that I enjoy them. Adam Green did these movies called Hatchet, and there's like a scene where he uses one of those giant lumberjack, what do you call it, the chainsaws, and cuts through like 4 people with the giant lumberjack. It's ridiculous and stupid, and I think it's really fun.
Oh God.
And you know, that's a thing I'm not going to see in my real life. So at least not hopefully.
Hopefully none of us sees that. And you also play Dungeons and Dragons, right? And other
Yeah, I play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. I really enjoy the whole like. It's essentially writing without having any of the responsibilities associated with it. You just get to pretend you're other people. So it's kind of a cool gig.
Yeah, true. My boyfriend is trying to get me into pen and paper, and we're thinking about doing some Conan adventures using GURPS. And I'm dying to try that because it seems fascinating to me. So yeah. Nikki?
Completely different. I'm not a horror fan, so I know I've got to hope that Sarah's not going to give me nightmares when I go to bed in a minute. But I've got quite eclectic tastes. I'm a big theatre fan. I used to be more of a theatre fan when I lived in England because I used to go to London all the time. Since I've moved to Adelaide, there is some good theatre here, but it's not quite the same as having 50 shows from which to pick. So I've kind of moved into the film side of things a bit more, and I go to the cinema a lot. I particularly love foreign films because I speak different languages as well. I do it for practice, but I also really enjoy foreign cinema, particularly European cinema. And I do love musicals, English
Same
language,
here.
foreign language. Yeah, I love Czech musicals, Austrian musicals, bit of everything. So I do fangirl about that a little bit as well. I have my crushes. Lena knows about some of those. My husband's very good because I do have a little book in which I have pictures of them all, and he just kind of just shakes his head. He's fine. I do have, if anyone watches or sees my Instagram, you may have noticed I also have like a full-size Loki standee, Marvel Loki as well. So yes, complete fangirl, but quite a mix of different things.
Yeah, okay. I think of the three of us, I'm the biggest otaku here, or otaku wannabe, because I'm the one who's super passionate about anime and animations in movies, actually. And I think for the past year, I think most of what I watched in terms of TV series was anime, and it's the really dark type of anime, because why would I watch something that ends nicely when it can just crush my soul and just tear it apart in many pieces? And I also do watch a lot of TV series when they are the paranormal type, like Supernatural and Lucifer and stuff like that. I would watch that. I mean, I would drop anything to watch those, except my writing when a deadline is coming, which means now I have a lot of Lucifer and Supernatural stacked up to watch next week. So yay for me. So yeah. Does this influence your writing? Because I know for me, it helps me be a better storyteller, if not a writer. I mean, I've learned a lot from how stuff like Cowboy Bebop is created. I think that's something that everyone who's trying to make a series of standalone stories could learn from, because in Cowboy Bebop, each episode is a contained story, and it has a completely different feel. One is a mystery, another one is a horror, and it just goes like that from episode to episode. But the overall series has a consistent theme, and at the end of the series, all the threads are connected, and it's just complete. It's rewarding to watch it, and you don't feel the need to see anything after that. So I've learned a lot from that. In terms of storytelling, I had the same experience with games, which I'm sure Sarah had as well. And does that impact your writing at all? Because for me, I know it does.
Yeah, I certainly think it impacts my writing. I talked a little bit on my channel about how I'm a mood person. So like I, for lack of a better term, watch horror movies and horror shows that I've seen before while I'm writing.
Cool.
I don't like they're in the background, so I'm mostly tuning them out, but like it sets the mood. So that's like really important to me. And it doesn't even matter that much if I care to watch it or not. Just as long as it's vaguely creepy. Because I write horror. So like sometimes I'll just put on like a playlist of like ghost hunters, and it's just a creepy tone, so it kind of sets my tone for my writing. So
that sounds like it would work really nicely.
It works really well for spooky stuff. I don't know if it would work for another genre, but
well, I think it kind of works if you do it with music and not necessarily movies, because I do that with music. If I need a certain type of state or feeling, I would listen to a certain playlist of music, and it's pretty much the same result. Nicki?
Yes, I think I'm probably a little bit different. I don't listen to anything when I'm writing. I'm a big music fan. I play instruments, but I have to have complete silence when I'm writing. So that music doesn't really influence me in that way. But I definitely take away from the other stuff that I enjoy, sort of films, TV shows, an idea of beats in particular, I think, in scenes. I don't know if any of you have read The Story by Robert McKee. It's really about screenwriting, but it's quite useful for fiction as well, because it talks about the different beats in the scene and how one scene moves into another, and all those sort of highs and lows and arcs through the story. So I think watching really good cinema and really cleverly done TV shows is great for that. I mean, I sort of think of slightly more avant-garde films, perhaps. Danish cinema does pacing really, really well. And also TV shows, a bit like, I don't know if you guys watch Hannibal. I love Hannibal. And that's just a really beautifully paced and arced show. So that sort of thing definitely influences me, perhaps not directly, but certainly in the way they're put together. And I suppose sometimes characters will influence me as well. If I see a character in a film or show that I might sort of take as a starting point and think, well, what if this guy was more like this? And that might launch me into a story as well.
I agree with you on pacing, because I've learned a lot about pacing from movies and TV series, and maybe discussing them afterwards. And I particularly like the type of movies and TV series where there's a lot of foreshadowing, there are a lot of clues spread out, but it takes a few watches to, going through them a few times just to discover everything, to see how layered everything is. Yeah, I think that's the only reason why, unlike every other person I've heard, maybe other than my boyfriend, I didn't really enjoy the new Blade Runner as much as the old one, because I think for the new Blade Runner, it looks amazing. It's beautifully done, but you watch it once, and when you watch it the next time, there's nothing more to discover.
Yeah, I think it's a different type, a different sort of age of movie making. That's really done, I think, the new one as an action film. And as an action film, it works. But I don't think, as you say, it has the nuances and that sort of real film noir feel that the original one had.
Yeah, and
Guillermo del Toro, I don't know if you've watched some of Guillermo del Toro's Spanish stuff,
He's very
Pan's
good.
Labyrinth.
Yeah,
also Crimson Peak. That they're really great for rewatching because of all the little details that he works in. You don't notice all these symbols and things the first time you watch it, but as you go back through, you get the symbolism of second, third viewings.
Yeah, and then we go back to the Space Odyssey, and you can watch that like 10 times and still not figure everything out. Because I don't think you can, unless you go into the mind of the director and just pluck it all out. But yeah, I do enjoy that. I think another TV show that's pretty recent and does foreshadowing really well is actually Supernatural, which is weird because I think that's a lot of action-packed stuff happening as a basis for the series. But then you get some foreshadowing, and when it hits you, it's just like, wow, I should have totally seen that coming, but I didn't, and it's nice. It's a nice twist. But other than that, I think every other show that's kind of new and is supposed to have a twist, I kind of guess it before, and that's disappointing.
I don't know if either of you have ever seen Twin Peaks, but that definitely doesn't fit into that box.
Yes.
Once it's broken compared to everyone else, so he can't.
Yeah, but that's not exactly new. I mean, the old series.
There was a new season. There was a new season, like just.
Yeah, ended. I know, but it's just the initial director who is known for that stuff.
Right.
I think he could only do that because it's Twin Peaks and it's a kind of cult favorite. But what I know about Twin Peaks is that it was the first TV series that actually had a story that went from one episode to another. It wasn't just a standalone series.
Yeah.
So that was a road opener, if there's ever one.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that I don't necessarily think they knew was going to come into play later, but that definitely, like, you later go, oh, well, it's been almost 30 years since you filmed this, and now this is appropriate and related to what I'm watching.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, no, I'm actually rewatching the initial Twin Peaks now because when it showed up, I was very young.
Me too.
I was very young, and it scared the crap out of me because the thing is, I was 7 when the revolution happened, and after that, a lot of movies started to just flood us. So I wasn't really accustomed to scary stuff. It wasn't something I wanted to see. And I remember now I was at my grandmother's, and it was enough for me to hear the theme song for Twin Peaks, and I'll just turn on the side back at the TV and go to sleep, like immediately. It was just, no, I'm not watching this. I'm a scaredy cat. But now, as I watch it, I still remember some of it. and it's great to watch it as an adult. But I think for as young as I was and how scared of stuff I was, that wasn't a good fit.
And it wasn't the kind of thing that was shown on television here either, as a general rule. Like, it was very different. So I think everyone kind of had that reaction to it, where it was like, this is so different than everything else.
Yeah. Well, for us, everything that came was different, because all we had was Indian movies, Romanian movies, and cartoons once a week. But we did have a lot of bootleg stuff on VCR players, and I remember that was how I first saw my first sci-fi, and that was Total Recall, which I've seen like 10 million times because we didn't have that many movies. So yeah, it was like Total Recall and then Cyborg with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Mm-hmm. And that's what started me on sci-fi and stuff. Granted, Total Recall was a way better movie, but Jean-Claude Van Damme was cute, so.
That's valid.
That's very valid. But I wanted to ask, do you ever read a book and feel like you know what movie or series or something that author read or saw? Because I had an experience like that recently with Morningstar, because there's a prolonged torture scene where a guy is tortured for a few months, and then he's imprisoned, like total seclusion, a black box, not seeing anything. And he's just left there to still survive, but be super weak and have no muscle mass. And the moment I saw that, I was like, I've seen that before. That's from Berserk, damn it. You've seen Griffith's torture part. So this is from there. If you didn't see that anime or didn't read the manga, I'm going to go insane. So have you ever encountered something like that?
I mostly do with like super indie stuff. Mm-hmm. I find that the more prolific an indie author is, the more likely I am to catch that. Mm-hmm. I think when somebody's putting out 5 or 6 books in a year, it's almost impossible for them to avoid that. And I think that's part of the reason that's not how the typical, like, ordinary publishing system works, is partly because you can't weed out those influences and stuff in time to publish 5 books in a year.
True. That's true.
Yeah, there's the really obvious like examples like J.K. Rowling and Tolkien and C.S. Lewis. There's so much Tolkien and C.S. Lewis throughout Harry Potter. You know, some of those are the really obvious ones. I mean, I can't think of any other examples off the top of my head, but definitely there have been times when I've been reading and I thought, oh, this definitely reminds me of such and such, and I've wondered if that's what they were watching when they were coming up with the idea and things like that. So as you say, Sarah, it is hard to avoid it sometimes because we're all influenced by what we see, and there's so much material out there, whether it's books, films. I think it's really hard to do something completely 100% original these days. Everything's influenced by something somewhere. It just depends how much that influence shines through or how much they're able to disguise it as something new.
Yeah, I think I agree. If you write more, if you're more prolific, maybe it shows more. But on the other hand, for traditionally published authors, it's just that the books take a lot to come out. You don't know how fast they write them. So I think maybe that's why you don't obviously feel like, look, this is inspired by that because it's come out 2 years after it. Mm. So I think we're all a bit of a slave to it because as Nicki said, it's impossible to filter it out. And some of them touch us deeper than others, and then they mark everything we write from that point on. But that's just how I see it. So what would you say would be the biggest influence for you of all the other media? For me, I think it would be anime probably, but not sure.
Mine's probably like indie horror movies. I really like horror movies that have a story, and that seems to be the opposite of what Hollywood's looking to do for us. So typically I feel like I have to kind of go find indie movies. There's a level of indie that's between like what my husband does, which is like $10,000 and less per movie, and like a Hollywood movie. And that mid-range seems to be a really kind of a sweet spot for like storytelling plus the horror elements without it turning into just, let me torture someone.
Yeah, I think you're right about Hollywood and it lacking that part. I think that's why I prefer to watch anime and animations that come out from Japan than to watch the blockbusters that come out from Hollywood, because they seem to be the same movie. I mean, there was recently an episode on Red Letter Media where they were pretty much saying that both DC and Marvel. I want shiny things now. So both DC and Marvel are pretty much making the same movie, and they're trying to say that, oh no, this is darker, it's more for the adults, but it's the same giant violet monster that's looking for some sort of way to, control the universe.
But obviously, as a Marvel fangirl, Alina, I have to say Marvel does it better.
I actually agree with you, and I'm a fan of both. I'm a fan of both. I think DC has a lot to work with, that they just screw it up every time. Like, I don't know how you can screw that up. I just don't understand it. I really do not understand at all. And I'm pretty sure you can make good movies and not be completely commercial. I mean, you can have some depth to it. But maybe I'm just wrong, and they just don't sell.
I can't imagine how a $190 million budget is necessary to have movies that are perfectly serviceable at $30,000. Like, I just don't. And I don't think it's worth it to look at, and as much as I love him, it's not worth it to me to look at Johnny Depp's face for that extra $20 million. Like, that seems so ridiculous. I'll just look at Johnny Depp's face somewhere else.
I'd be fine if that was the only extra cost, paying for a really good actor. But I think the cost comes from FX and everything they do with makeup, with 3D, with everything they do. I think that costs a lot, and it costs a lot to process as well. It takes a lot of computing power. But I don't know, if it lacks in everything else, it's kind of a bit of a waste. Like, I think Blade Runner is a bit of a waste. I think it has no depth, and they could have tried harder. But I think it was also hard because the first Blade Runner was kind of a contained story. It didn't need a sequel.
Yeah.
So yeah. Nicki, what's your biggest influence?
I would say film and TV, because I'm quite a visual person. So it's the stuff I'm watching that's probably going to stick with me more and is more likely to inspire me in my stories. Obviously, now we're talking about Marvel, Thor Ragnarok opens here on Thursday. I will be going. I will try not to fangirl.
I'm not going.
So that is probably going to influence me for like at least the next month. But no, I think it's probably more stuff that I'm watching than stuff that I'm reading. I mean, obviously books do influence me as well, but I do have that visual memory much stronger. So it's the stuff that I'm watching that stays with me.
I think I'm the same in most part, except for when it comes to sci-fi. I think when it comes to sci-fi, there are books that describe things that visual media couldn't be able to describe without a really huge budget. The only exception is, again, anime, because it's cheaper to create an animation than to create a film like that. And I know for sure that Keanu Reeves is a big Cowboy Bebop fan, and he wanted to play in an adaptation, but they couldn't do the movie because it was just too expensive to make. It's just.
I thought you were going to say because they needed a better actor.
I think he would be better to play. He would be perfect to play Spike from the big name actors that I know. But if you would go looking for no-name actors, there might be a lot of better ones, but I don't think they'd sell the movie. And if you have to put hundreds of millions of dollars into it to create it, then you need a big name actor. And I think Keanu Reeves would actually be the best. But I think he's getting too old for the part, so unless he no, honestly, unless he hurries up, he won't be able to pull it off, I don't think. So yeah, no, for me, I still think the biggest influence are books in a way, but books that I read when I was really young, because those influenced my themes and my passions and the genres I usually go for. But in more recent years, it's been visual stuff, and it's been more animation than anything because, like I said, they can afford to explore more of sci-fi and fantasy in ways that a movie or a TV series could never be able to, because it would just cost too much. I mean, look at Game of Thrones. It takes a lot to make that movie, and they can't pull off a lot of episodes. Also, it's getting to the point where I think of it as fan fiction, because otherwise I can't enjoy it. So I don't know, maybe it's more complicated in TV and movies. Or maybe they're just lazy bastards. I'm not sure. I'm not sure anymore. So another issue Nicki brought up, and I think it would be fun to discuss it. If you could work in any other medium and create stories in that medium, which would it be?
Do you want to go first, Sarah?
I missed the question. I was answering the chat.
Oh, okay. We have a chat going on. Yeah, I should check that. No, I was saying if you could pick another medium to write a story in or create a story in, which would it be? Like a movie or?
Well, my husband made one of my short stories into a movie, and that was kind of cool.
Wow.
But I don't think that's. I mean, it's a super short film. It's like over on his YouTube. It's like a 10-minute movie. But like, I don't think that's how the experience usually goes, though. Like, he was really worried about upsetting me by doing it, even though like I'm really big on you separate the written stuff from the movie because they're not going to be the same.
Clearly.
But I always wanted to do a book of some sort that went along with a musical item. So like you have a CD that sets the tone for my book that you listen to while you're reading my book.
Oh, that would be
And I always
cool.
thought that would be really cool.
Yeah, no, that would be really cool.
So that's the only idea I've ever come up with.
Okay.
I like that idea. That's good. I have seen, I can't think for the life of me who the author is at the moment, but I have seen someone do that, and she composes as well, and she's written some music that's related to her book. So I don't know if you're meant to listen to it as you read or whether it's just an accompaniment, but
right.
I have seen someone do it, and I did think then it was a really interesting idea. For me, I'm also obviously a big musical theatre fan, as I said earlier, so I would probably create a musical. I do compose a little bit, so I write the odd song here and there. So I'd probably, if I wasn't writing a book, I wanted to turn my story into something else, I'd probably put it on as, you know, the Ragnarok Chronicles, the musical.
Oh, that would be nice, actually. And this coming from someone who read the book. But I don't think you would get the right actor for Loki if you wait too long.
No, I mean, Reeve Carney would be perfect at the moment, but we'd have to put it on straight away because he's starting to get a bit older.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only issue with this. Yeah, for me, I thought for a long time I would like to write screenplays, but now, things changed when I met my current boyfriend because he wants to create games. So he wants to create narrative-based games, obviously, because that's why we connect so well on story and crafting stories and writing and stuff like that. And after talking to him, I think I want to get into that. I want to try to make a move into interactive fiction because I love the idea of your reader influencing the story. Although I tried that with books, like I let a story have an open ending so everyone can choose however it went, and that kind of backfired. So I thought I'd do it in a more controlled environment where people expect to make choices and decide where the story goes. But I think beyond just, you know, creating these type of stories, I would like to write for games in the future, because I think it's so fun and so different, and you have to consider so many things, and there's a lot of world building and development that goes before you even think of starting a story, which is quite different from how I build my own stories. So I think it would be challenging and interesting. But of course, if someone wants me to write a script for their movie, call me anytime. And
I feel like
of,
this. I feel like the script writing format is kind of stifling when you don't write that way usually. Like it's the most difficult thing for my brain to like go into. Like it doesn't want to do script writing format at all.
I don't know.
I guess if you're the kind of writer, like, I mean, some writers, when they do first drafts, they're really dialogue heavy, and then they go back in and add the descriptions later. So the people that write like that probably would find it easier because they're used to just speech. Whereas those of us who perhaps are doing a mix of prose and dialogue from the start, it's harder just to separate those two out and just be thinking about what people are saying.
Right.
True. The thing is, like, when I started writing, like when I was in middle school or high school, I either did essays, or when I wrote like fiction, it was really dialogue heavy, and the dialogue was probably the best part of it. Then when I started getting ready for the exams for uni to go into journalism, I was introduced to a completely different way of writing, and that later influenced me. And now I do a combination of dialogue and everything else. I don't do anything first and then add something later. It just flows from start to end. So I think it would be a big transition to the format needed for a script. But I think I would like to try it at some point. I probably wouldn't show it to anybody because I don't think I'm that good at scripts. But it would be a nice exercise, I think, for writing. So, because we're all going to become super famous authors now, I have to ask you this.
Of course.
In what would you see your books turned? Like, would you like them to be adapted into a movie or a TV series or something else?
I really enjoy the TV series that are, excuse me, allergies are awful over here. I'd really like to see a TV series that was like related to my book more than one that's based on my book. Like there's a series on Sci-Fi called Haven that's based on the Stephen King book called The Colorado Kid. The Stephen King book's like 140 pages or something. And the series is like 7 seasons. So obviously it's not the book, but it's the same world. And I really like the feel of that. So something like that would be really neat for me.
Yeah, no, I've watched that for about 4 seasons before giving up on it. I don't know why I gave up on it, but I think it was because I forgot to watch it and then 2 years had passed.
Yeah.
But that's a good TV series though, from what I remember. And it just kept going off the rails more with every season, going more creepy and weird.
Yeah.
So it was nice. Nicki?
I don't know. I mean, we were sort of talking about the Ragnarok Chronicles, the musical. I mean, that would be cool.
Yeah, that's a big awesome.
But I have to say, I think it would work better, that story, as a TV show than a film, because it is 210,000 words long. So to make it an hour and a half to 2 hour film would be quite a condense, I think. So I think it might work better as TV. I'm actually quite excited at the moment because they're just a little bit off topic, but they're making a TV series of Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness, which is a trilogy I really love. So I'm quite excited, and I think that's going to work much better. I'm glad they're doing that as TV than film. But with my own, I think Another idea that I would quite like to see is if someone turned one of my stories into a graphic novel. Because I do like I'm not a huge graphic novel reader, but I've read a few, and I do like that visual medium. And I think some of the stories, particularly the MM ones, maybe more, would work quite well in that way.
Yeah, true. No, I think a lot would work well as graphic novels or straight up manga. Although that would need a rewrite, but for my own, I think I would like to see them as anime series. I would particularly like to see them as that for the werewolf series. I think I would love to see. Yeah. I would love to see a Japanese take on Shiki's story. That would be amazing. Also, I would be the worst kind of author to work with because I'd be very fixed in my choices of voice actors because I'm impossible and weird. But I think the vampire series, I think that would work as a TV series as well. And for the MM stuff, although it's kind of more closer to gay fiction, I think it would work well in graphic novel format. I think that a bit of illustration would add a lot to it, especially for something like Angel's Feather, which would be hard to make in anything than drawings or animation, because you have alien angels. I mean, it's kind of hard to do on TV without the effects looking like crap, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, I would really love to see that more than a straight up romance movie. I think that would be a lot cooler in the end. So, going to other people's books, do you ever feel like a book shouldn't be a book? I mean, it's written, it's an interesting story, but it just doesn't work like a book. It should be something else, like a play or a movie or something like that. Because, for example, The Vampire Diaries, I really didn't like the book, but when the TV series came out, I thought, oh, this is amazing, actually. I can't believe they did that of that bland book I read a while back. I'm sorry, Nicki.
No, that's okay. I'll come back and talk about that when it's my go in a second.
Okay.
I'll let Sarah give us her opinion first.
I feel like I feel that way about Anne Rice in general. I have a really hard time with her. I have a really hard time, especially with the level of description that she feels is necessary is different than the level of description I feel is necessary. So, like, I think Interview with the Vampire, the movie, is a whole lot of fun. The book seemed real tedious to me. So I think some of it is writing style and whether or not I'm into that writing style on whether I'd rather see it somewhere else.
Well, true. I mean, I love the books. I really love them a lot more than the movies, especially for Queen of the Damned, which they completely butchered. But for Interview with the Vampire, I think I enjoyed the movie for the simple reason that I didn't read the book first. Because if I had read the book first and then you present me Antonio Banderas as a 16-year-old when he was in his freaking 40s, I would have gone insane. Also, I think Tom Cruise was not the best match ever for Lestat. I think the Lestat in Queen of the Damned was 10 million times better. Too bad the movie was crap.
That movie was just a hot mess.
Yes.
I don't know that anything could have saved that. It was a mess.
Well, the thing that could have saved it in terms of just the money it made would have been Lyanna dying, or I can't remember his name now. Is it Stuart Townsend?
Yes.
Yes. The actor, yes, Stuart Townsend. It would have helped if Stuart Townsend was more of a creep and wouldn't have refused to promote the movie and get his fame off Elias' death. That would have made him a lot of money. But I respect him for his choice not to. I think. I'm not sure.
I mean, but I think by the time he made that decision, they kind of knew how it was going to be received. So he might have also been influenced by the fact that, like, I don't want to hear negativity while I'm in an interview. Like, that would be really awkward to have somebody be like, so why is this so garbage? Because I think I remember that one being one of the ones that they let some people check it out first to write early reviews, and it didn't go well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I totally get why.
Yeah.
I mean, I've watched that movie like 10 times for the simple reason because I think he does a great Lestat.
Yes, I agree.
But
yeah.
I think no one ever in the world could do a better Lestat than him. But everything else concerning the movie, that's just crap. That's poor crap.
Have you seen or heard the musical though? You know, there's a musical of Lestat.
I know you've said that, but no, I haven't seen it.
I'll have to like hook you up with some music. Yeah. It was on Broadway. I like I think it was San Francisco. They did a tour first. The San Francisco cast, I think, were better. But you'll have to. There's some bits and pieces of it on YouTube, so I'll have to send you guys some links. But that's interesting. It's not perfect, but it's interesting. But yeah, I think Stuart Townsend I really liked. And the other thing I liked about that movie that I think did work was the music. And it's not my style of music.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I forgot to mention the movie. The music. The music was absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah, whoever planned that should definitely continue working.
Yeah, well, I loved it so much that even now, if you play me any song on the soundtrack, I can tell you where in the movie it's used and what happens.
I have a couple of movies that I'm like that with, that the music is just so spot on that's what you think of when you hear that music. That
for me would be Queen of the Damned. But then they had Disturbed and I think Marilyn Manson playing some of the songs. So they did really great with the music.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I agree with you, Nicki. I mean, I listen to a lot of music, but I think I wasn't into any kind of that sort of rock at the point where the movie came out. And then I just started listening a lot more of it because of the movie.
Shall we come back to Vampire Diaries?
Yes.
Vampire Diaries is interesting because I know you sort of looked at me as if I was going to tear your head off, but actually I don't think the books are that great either. It's okay. Of course, Elijah's got the book, so it doesn't matter. As long as we're not dissing Elijah, it's all fine. I did read, when I read the books when I was a teen, and I thought they were brilliant. You know, I absolutely loved them. It was like, oh, so wonderful, Vampire Diaries. And then when I heard that they were going to make the TV show, I was really excited. And so at first I was really annoyed, of course, when Elena didn't have blonde hair and everything. But and at when this show came out, I went and reread the books. And this is, 15, 20 years later. And I was like, these are really not that great. I thought they were like so brilliant when I read them when I was like 11 or something. And like reading them now that I'm older, I'm a writer myself, I edit. And I was just looking at it, I just wanted to red pen everything. And I was like, the books are actually not that good, but the TV show really works.
Yeah.
So I think as sort of getting us back on topic, I suppose, a bit, I think that is one where it definitely works better in that medium than it did in the books. I mean, I'm trying to think if any others are really like that. I can't off the top of my head. Someone will probably come to me later and I'll blurt it out.
I hate the books that True Blood is based off of. I can't read them. I think they're horrible. I freaking love True Blood though. Like for some reason, I start reading the books. I can't do it. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because usually she's a romance writer and I have a hard time with romance. I don't know what it is, but I can't, I made it 3 books in and then my brain shut off and it was like, you're not picking that book back up.
I don't mind them, but I like the early ones, probably like 1 to 5.
Yeah. And
I didn't enjoy the later ones quite so much. And I finally thought of one. I knew if I sat here for a second, I'd think of another one that is better in a different medium. Jekyll and Hyde. So much better as a musical.
Which one? I missed it. Sorry, Mike.
Awesome. Jekyll and Hyde.
Oh, yes.
Stevenson.
Yes.
It was one of those classics that I hadn't gotten to. And then the musical, where they released that studio cast recording with Anthony Warlow in the mid-90s. And it's so amazing. And then I went and read the book after that. What is Iris doing? I went and read the book after that. And I was really disappointed. I was like, where's all the women? Where are the love interests that are in the musical? I was like, it's dull. Come on. But it works so well as a musical. one of my favorite top 10 musicals.
I've heard of it. I know it's good, but I always thought of that book that it would work better in any other medium. But, you know, it had to be written at that point. And the reason I was laughing was that Ares tried his best to stay here in the room, but he saw that I was ignoring him so badly that he finally got up and left. I mean, he was there in the background, but now he's gone. You do whatever you want, woman. I'm leaving. This is boring. So, yeah.
There has been a recent move to translate horror into musicals, and I find that really fun. There's a Carrie musical that has some really, I haven't seen the musical, but I've heard a lot of the music, and it's very good. And I've heard that the Evil Dead musical is pretty good. I hear that it's not as great as the movie. If you're into like the campy stuff, it's there, but it's not. I mean, you can't on purpose make something as campy as Evil Dead was on accident. But I really like the idea of translating horror into musicals. Like, I think that's such a neat thing to do. And like the idea that horror can be a musical too, like people seem to like almost have a block there. Like they're like, no, that doesn't make sense. And then it's like, yeah, but how long's Sweeney Todd been around? And they're like, oh, yeah, I guess that's
awesome
true.
Musical. Yeah.
Right. Like it's, but I think horror translates strangely well into musical.
Which is true. Quite true. And I think another thing that would translate well into any other medium that's visual would be all the fairy tales. And not just the mainstream ones, I mean the really dark ones. The really dark ones that are specific to each culture. I think those would be great horror movies.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, I'm still scarred by what I read as a kid, which was Romanian fairy tales. Where are the fairies? God damn it.
And of course, we were just talking about Sweeney Todd, but you know, Stephen Sondheim gave us Into the Woods as well.
Yeah.
So yeah. he's got a good knack for that. You think they're weird ideas, like, well, I don't know if you guys know Assassins. That's one of my favorite Sondheim musicals.
Yeah, I've actually seen it.
I love Assassins. But the idea of doing a musical of the assassination of different US presidents.
Right.
If you went to someone with that idea, they just look at you like you're completely balmy.
Yes,
it works so brilliantly.
Right, the one sentence description of this play is really not acceptable.
I think the thing I regret the most is that, you know, being born in Romania, you're used that your culture is kind of a bit limited. It won't reach very far. And international literature and theater and everything is really important from early on. And you see a lot of that, a lot. Opera is big, ballet is big, which is great. But in terms of musical, that's not really a thing. I had to get quite old to discover I liked musicals and see a few. And the first live musical I ever saw was when I was, I think, 26, because I traveled to New York and went to see The Phantom of the Opera, which later inspired the story, because Nicki knows, I think you edited on that too. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think that's a big loss, because they're fun to watch, and some of them are just great stories, and the music is just awesome. Even if I don't agree with how
The Phantom of the Opera. They're kind of heading your way though, Alina, because I mean, for a while it was more the sort of UK, US that did musicals. Then the Germans started producing, because at one point they were just putting on English ones but translated. But then the Austrians started producing their own. The French started producing their own, although they have a real rock opera approach. It's the way they stage stuff slightly different. But now it's become really huge in Prague. And since then, it's becoming really big in Hungary lately as well. And they're putting on a lot of their own. So it might be kind of heading.
Yeah, I hope so.
In your direction.
I hope so. But that would still be in Bucharest. And I don't think it will be so mainstream that they bring it to the smaller cities. So, and also I don't have a lot of confidence in what they'll do with it. I mean, I'm pretty sure they'll do like something where they turn it into a post-communist philosophical take on life. I mean,
there could be a musical about the revolution.
Oh God, no, thank you. I mean, all our movies are depressing as fuck, and they work really well for the rest of the world. But I would never want to see.
I have to say, I have seen 2 Romanian movies, and it's probably true because I think they were quite like dismal views of everything.
Well, it depends on how old they are, because some of the older movies were quite different. But the new ones, I mean, so there's this movie that lasts for 3 hours. And what happens is that there are people sitting around the table and talking. It's not any type of meal. It's the sort of meal that happens after a funeral. And it's really important in Romanian culture. I mean, in the countryside, if you don't invite everyone, you're not doing things right. I mean, everybody should come and have a meal in your house and stuff like that. So 3 hours of conversation between people around the table, that's a weird movie, man. That's a weird movie. It's bad. Nobody has time to watch it. Unless you're an elitist prick, you don't want to watch that. Also, there's no undertone. And everything else was about creepy stuff like the medical system and healthcare and how bad it was if you were trying to get an abortion before the revolution, which was bad.
For the record, that kind of horror, not my thing.
It wasn't horror.
I like fake stuff.
It wasn't horror, by the way. It wasn't horror.
Well,
I should point that out.
It's kind of terrifying, so.
It is terrifying, but, you know, as against these movies as I used to be, right now, I think the world would need more of them. I think we should make more movies about how bad it was when communism was around, because maybe that way young people in countries like America would stop thinking being a communist is cool, because that disheartens me. That makes me lose hope in humanity, like straight up. And I hate those movies, but maybe there's a place for them in the world. I don't know.
I'm just looking up which ones I saw. I saw one called Loverboy and one called Tales from the Golden Age.
I have no idea what that is. I mean, I think we're recovering because I've seen a comedy recently, Romanian comedy. I've seen it in the cinema. I mean, big release and stuff, and that was really, really good. I laughed throughout the entire movie, and it was so typically Romanian that you couldn't help laughing. There's a scene at some point where a guy has dyed his car a different color. And when you do that, it's fine, but you have to go and register the new color and have it put in all your documents. And he meets a police officer, and the police officer goes, "What color is your car?" "White." "The car is dyed black, by the way. It's black." He goes, "White." The police guy looks at the car and "No, it's not." "Yes, it is. It's white." And then his friends, which he dropped off a few minutes before, come to the car, and the policeman goes to them, "Excuse me, sir, what color is this car?" "White." Of course. And the guy just stays there and stares at them and leaves. Like, he straight up leaves and leaves them there with their white car, which was actually black. And that's typical. I mean, I understand why that would make it into the movie and why that would happen. And I actually have a friend whose father did something similar. Although the color difference was not as big. It wasn't night and day, which was good, but it happened. It's relatable, and it was fun, and it made fun of the situation we're in and how hard some people have it and how bad it is that families are separated because one of the spouses goes to work abroad and stuff like that. But they did it in a comedic form, which made the movie enjoyable. It doesn't have to just punch you in the face with how bad it is. I don't know. Or maybe it is because I see it from my perspective, where I see this every day and I'm just tired of it and I want a different take and a more hopeful take on things. But I digress. Enough about Romanian movies.
All the people that tuned in didn't know they were going to get this like exciting intro into Eastern European cinema.
exciting. That's a bit of an overstatement. But yeah.
It's okay. I love foreign movies. We're good.
Yeah, no, I think you'd like a lot of our movies. Some are really good, but I can't remember very new ones. I do remember there was a movie at one point with a really old dude who was playing the heartthrob. He was in his 70s and he was playing the heartthrob. I think it was called Orient Express, but I'm not sure. I have to Google that and send you the link because it's just too funny. I know you're a great actor and you have a lot of history, but dude, you're in your 70s. You're not James Bond. Please have some self-awareness, but no. So yeah, that's good. But I would recommend short movies that I've seen at festivals. Those are good and interesting, unless they're creepy and on the same communism was bad trend. Or talking about abortions again, because we like abortions apparently. It's a huge topic. God damn it. So yeah, but yeah, no. Oh, speaking of that, I know of Romanian books that would work really well as movies, because that was our initial conversation.
Was it? When?
Ages ago, before I dived into a rant about Romanian cinematography. Oh gosh. Anyway, so there was this series. It was kind of middle grade to YA. It was called something that would be literally translated into The Cherry Pickers. It was about a group of kids who just go around and have adventures, and one is good with math, the other one is good with physics and stuff like that. They just create a nice team. And I think that would have worked wonders as a TV series, much better than a book. Because I have to say, the pages where they explained his mathematical reasoning, that was boring. It's way nicer done in movies such as Numbers, if you've seen it, where there's an FBI agent and his mathematician brother. It works way better then. So, yeah. See, I brought us back on track, sort of. I'm sorry. I can be accused of many things, but not of rambling too little. That's true. And it's because Sarah was telling me she talks too much. See, I overshadow you.
I just start rambling and then I'm like, oh, I just talked for like 6 minutes. Whoops.
It's fine. It's fine. At that point, you'll talk half the time that I've been spending talking. It's good that at least I'm aware.
Start filming and you think, oh, this one will only be like 4 or 5 minutes, and then you get to edit it and you're like, hang on, I just rambled on for like 12 minutes.
Oh yeah, I cut a lot of that. Like I go rambling about stuff that has nothing to do with what I'm filming, and I'm just like, oh, this is going to be cut. It's fine.
Yeah. This is the part where I'm talking about stuff nobody cares about. So let's throw that in the dumpster over here.
Yeah, that, or then I'm like, oh, I'm being way too harsh here. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Yeah. And edit it. I mean, remember I did a collab with Eme, which Nicki knows, and it was like 20-something minutes long for a tag that should take like 5 minutes to any normal people. Well, I had cut about 30 minutes of that, and I made sure I cut all the parts where I was offering to kill the neighbors' kids because they were screaming. The parts where I was saying something mean about said kids, and then I went like, oh my god, I'm a horrible human being. And then some jokes I made about talking about book boyfriends and being sure that it's the one video my boyfriend was going to watch. So, all that and a lot of stuff that Eme said, and a lot of moments like that were like 30 minutes. 30 minutes, and the video wasn't that long when I edited it. So the important part was about a third of what we filmed. The rest was rambling, straight up rambling. So yeah. So Nicki, if we would have filmed that video we're collabing on together, it would have been like 2 hours long. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Better to film separately if you're collabing with me, because otherwise you start filming and then it's 2 days later and you're still talking to the camera. And we drifted off again. What were we talking about? Somebody please remind me what we were talking about, because I'm lost.
We were talking about other people's books that would work better in different media.
That and
I think we covered it.
Yeah, we covered it.
So too.
Yeah, I think we covered it a bit. Like at this point, I think it would be more like beating the dead horse 3 days after the horse died and got buried, and then we dug it up and beat it again. But yeah, I lost my track completely, so jump right on in.
I don't know that we had any more questions on our list.
I think we covered all the topics, but you know, it's fun, so.
Yeah, well, do you want to talk about perhaps the music a bit more? We've said a lot about films and TV and things. So, I mean, as I said previously, I don't really listen to music as I'm writing. It's not part of my process, but I am a huge music lover outside of that. So I did write some I did put together some playlists when I did Ragnarok Chronicles. They were up on my blog for a while, but I took them down recently. But I was sort of writing that with songs in mind that were relevant to the piece. But that's probably the only time I've done it. For me, music is pretty separate. My love of music is one thing, but then literature is something completely different from me. So I don't know whether you guys have a bit more overlap, whether you see them as more closely knit.
Go, Sarah, go.
Okay. I kind of switch back and forth. I used to write with white noise rather than music or television or whatever, but that makes my husband crazy. So like he's just like, what is that noise? What is that? What is that? So I stopped doing that, and I've switched to kind of doing some music and some television and stuff like that. But I do like the white noise more. It's just that it drives everyone else nuts. And I can't wear headphones when I'm writing because my ears get hot. So it has to be like out loud noise. So I usually try to find music everyone else can tolerate, because I listen to a lot of music no one else can. So.
Well, for me it's easier because I have my room and my home office separate from everything else. I can just shut the door and it's fine. But I can write with or without music. Usually it doesn't matter. I have this favorites playlist on YouTube that I let play, and whatever comes. I don't try to find a certain type of music. But that changed when I was writing actually Strength to Let Go. And it started at around the beginning of the book. There's a scene where Shiki flashes into a territory of a different tribe, and he's trying to get himself killed in battle. And I found a song that worked really well with that. It was called The Returner, and the video was something with samurai fighting and stuff like that. It was performed by Gak, who was my visual inspiration for Shiki. So I used that song. That was the only song I listened to. It was on repeat for hours on end. And whenever I felt like I needed a more romantic theme, there was another song by the same Gak, which was a love song, that I'd play. And that was it. 2 songs, the entire book, or nothing. But usually it's just, I need something there in the background. And more recently, I would listen to YouTube videos while I write, and then take a break from writing to post comments, because why not? I get distracted.
Interestingly, the one thing I do like to do with music on in the background though is drawing. I don't like drawing with no noise. So I think the issue is that for me, because I'm also a key musician, I'm a singer, I like to sing along. So when I'm drawing, I can happily sing along and it doesn't affect what I'm drawing. But if I'm writing and I start trying to sing along, I either end up writing the lyrics or I end up just stopping writing completely and just sit there singing away to myself for an hour. So I think it's that's maybe the biggest thing. Like, I have tried classical music, and that's okay, but I still just prefer to be completely with the story. But for drawing, I love to have something going on in the background because I hate just sitting there in silence while I'm sketching.
Well, in a way that applies to when I paint my nails, which I haven't done a lot this year because I like to do intricate designs.
No, we haven't seen as many pictures of your nails.
I think, I mean, we're in October, and I think I did my nails 3 times this year, and I used to do it weekly, so I don't know, I just wasn't in the mood, and now I'm in the mood again, and I just started with something basic like this. Where's my camera? There. It's just red and black to work with my vampire makeup, because I wouldn't do it for myself, but I definitely paint my nails for a YouTube video, obviously. So yeah, when I do my nails, I like to either have a movie playing or music, because otherwise I feel like it just takes too long to do the nails, especially if I draw something more intricate. And if I also watch a movie or listen to music, it just feels like time flies faster, especially if I'm not doing anything. Like, I just have to wait for the first layer of paint to dry. That's annoying. So yeah, but I don't think, I mean, it can affect me when I'm writing sometimes if it's the kind of music that's completely opposed to what I'm writing. Then it just pisses me off. And it's why whenever I go to coffee shops to write, I have headphones with me. Because if their music is completely bullshit, like if they're playing some happy corporate kind of music, and I'm writing a fight scene or a death scene, it's just like, no, that's not going to work for me. Shut up. So headphones work usually.
When I write in public, I find that wearing headphones also keeps people from talking to you. Sometimes I put them on, even though I'm not plugged into anything. And I'm just like, oh, can't hear you, sorry.
It's like the woman in Heroes. Did you all watch Heroes? Like season 5 of Heroes. And there was the girl who was deaf and she didn't want people talking to her, so she just put headphones in all the time.
Yeah, and it works.
Yep. Confirmed. It's not just the TV joke, it's confirmed.
Yep, I do that at work too, because we have an open air office at my day job, and people come in for other offices and they'll start yelling at me about stuff that isn't related to me. So I'll just be like, I don't know. I don't work with them. I don't know.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. I never had that problem working in coffee shops in Romania because nobody comes to talk to you. It's not, I mean, I was reading threads on the Nano group about people coming to ask what you're writing or what you're doing, and I was like, nobody ever did that. I mean, at some point when I was still living in Bucharest, I was organizing write-ins, weekly write-ins, and we would meet at a coffee shop or a tea house for a few hours, and everybody had their laptops on and writing, and even then nobody came to ask anything, although I'm betting everything they were curious, but nobody came to ask. So it's like headphones are just a useful item for me. But I find it that maybe I should wear these when I go out, because the moment when people come to talk to me and I really don't want to is when I'm walking my dog, because I use that time to listen to audiobooks. And people keep interrupting me because they come to just say he's pretty and cute, or to ask what breed he is, and I just don't care. I just want to walk my dog.
You should print, yes, I know he's cute. Yes, he's pretty. And what breed he is. Print it on a shirt and just wear that when you walk the dog.
That's a good idea. I like that.
That's a good idea.
So when people come talk to you, you just point at the shirt.
The only problem is that sounds a lot shorter in English. If I put that on a shirt in Romanian, I just have to write on the front, stay there for 30 seconds, then turn around for them to continue reading. So I'm better off just taking an earplug off and say, yeah, okay, thank you. Yes, he's 5. He just turned 5. Yeah, I know. He's a white Swiss Shepherd. Thank you, bye. So that's it. But yeah.
Or maybe you could make a cardboard sign that kind of sits on his back.
Yeah, like a dog sandwich board.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. And then it's putting a bit of extra exercise for him as well.
Oh God,
you know,
yes.
working on his balance and, you know, his weight carrying, you know. So
Like, yes, I'm lovely. Yes, I'm very friendly. I'm trying to use the bathroom. Please leave my owner alone.
No. That one with I'm very friendly doesn't work because I like people to think he's evil and cruel and about to kill them. Because when I go to the doggy park, well, it's fun. I mean, welcome to Romania. So there's a doggy park, which is always dirty because nobody cleans it. And if you go to mow your own grass and stuff like that, you might get a fine because you're not supposed to do that. We won't get into the finer details, but yeah, if you try to do stuff that the city hall should be doing and is not doing it, you might get fined. So, okay. And the point is, across from this park, there's a family living in a house. They have a dog. That dog barks every time somebody passes by. They have no problem with that. They have a problem with me. Because A, my dog is big and apparently that's their business. And I shouldn't go there because my dog is too big. And B, it's because he barks and he creates noise. And they think that's a good reason for them to come out shouting at me for like 5 minutes when the dog barked for 30 seconds. So I want those people to think he's vicious because whenever I have the dog next to me, they don't do anything to me. Because there's like 5 of them and 1 of me, so yeah.
So as long as they don't watch your vlog, we're okay.
I don't think they speak English, so we're fine.
We're good. Okay.
Because I use English to swear back at them. They swear at me and curse and cuss me and everything in Romanian, and I reply in English. Just because it's fun. Also, I hate fighting with people. Like, I don't like it. I don't like going out on the street and fighting with people, and they always say mean shit. So I just put my earplugs on, and they won't come close because of the dog, and I'm fine. It's perfect. So yeah, yes, I'm friendly doesn't work. maybe get something that says bad dog, don't touch, something like that would work. But then I'd get into trouble with the police because they'd go like, if it's so bad, why don't you have something around his snout?
Oh, muzzle?
Muzzle, yeah.
I think they would like one that's made of iron and stuff. But legally I'm not required to do that for his breed. Plus, he's very friendly. So I wouldn't do it just because. But if I say he's a dangerous dog and I don't have a muzzle, that's not good. It's a tightrope I'm navigating. So yeah, but we have good internet. Did I mention Romania has good internet?
Yes, we're all very jealous of your internet.
Thanks, because I don't think you have anything else to be jealous of. Well, that and true dedication to free speech, that works well. We're not a politically correct country. That's the only thing we have to offer other than good internet. That's sad. I should stop bashing my own country. It's not fun.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, talking bad about someone's mom. Like, you can talk bad about your mom, but no one else can talk bad about your mom.
True. Very true.
Like, I mean, I'm constantly like, oh, my mom is such a jerk. Someone else says it, we're going to fight.
Yeah, true. So true. No, I'm really harsh with my country as I'm harsh with myself because I'm my biggest critic anyway. So I'm harsh with my country because I think we have a lot of potential and we just fuck off. That's all we do. Just fuck around and do nothing, and it all goes to waste. So it's a bit sad, and I'm just hoping if I make fun enough of my people in my country, they'll start acting like normal and, you know, be nice and whatever. But I've been doing it for years. It's not working that great. were talking about other media, right? I think my tagline for this chat should be "Come for what we promise, stay for everything else."
And hear about Romania.
Yeah. Today it was about Romania. I mean last time too, because I was talking about fairy tales.
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken. So yeah. If I'm the only way people find out about Romania, we're doomed. We're like
I was going to say it's educational, Alina.
I'm guessing it's more educational than what I've seen in movies where we are always the bad guy. Like if there's a terrorist or a trafficker or something like that, then Romanian works. Also, there was an episode, I think in Criminal Minds, way back, when there was this Roma family or an entire culture, and they were abducting future brides for their sons, something like that. Those guys were Romanian too. They actually spoke Romanian. It sounded as you'd expect, like an American person trying to speak Romanian, but at least they had an explanation for that. Because everyone had been abducted at some point, but they had been raised in America, so they had an accent. I don't know how that works. I really don't know how that works, because they were talking in Romanian all the time since they were 5, so you would lose an accent, but never mind. It's okay. So I can't really ruin our image if we go off media in general, like movies and TV shows. I mean, Dracula. I can't do worse than that.
It's very Romanian.
Actually, he's not Romanian at all.
No, of course not.
No, I mean, we don't even have myths about vampires much. Not at all. Vampires are not a common thing in Romania. We have strigoi, who are more like zombies or reanimated corpses. We have no vampires. The Russians have vampires, actually. I think it was the first time the word vampire was documented. It was 1000 something, and it was in a Russian document. If I'm not remembering it wrong, because I used to do research on this when I was in university, and I was really surprised that the Russians were the first ones to mention vampires in writing. I wouldn't have thought so. So yeah.
Well, I think in America, at least, we don't know enough about Eastern Europe as a general rule to even be able to tell the difference between the different countries. Like, that's the American education system, as far as anything outside of America, is pretty sad.
Well, that's for one reason and one reason only. You matter. Because when you're Romanian, the first thing you do is you're told you have to learn a foreign language to succeed. So you realize you have to know more than other people. And we know a lot of things because our school system is based on memorizing. A lot of it is based on being able to reproduce stuff you've heard. So that's why. But I don't think, I mean, I think I hear this a lot from people, but if you go into the nitty-gritty, the US is as big as Europe, let's say. Each state can be as big as a country. There are states that are bigger than Romania anyway. So I wouldn't know how to place states on a map. I know where the US is in general. So I think that's pretty fair to say they know as much about Europe as I know about the USA. Because I couldn't pick individual states.
I mean, I know a fair amount of like U.S. Americans. Obviously, I realize that we're a continent, not a country. But who think that that everything outside of the U.S. is totally useless, and like that we're the only ones who matter. And I don't know if that's a xenophobic thing or what it is, but it's like there's this wall, and like the number of Americans I know who think that Africa is a country is disgraceful.
Oh my God.
Horrifyingly disgraceful. Regularly, you'll see people talking about the country of Africa.
I would like to say we're better than that, but I'm pretty sure there are quite a lot of people in this country who don't know how to read and write. And I'm pretty sure they don't know Africa is not a country either. So.
Well, I feel better about that, although I bet most of them don't run your country, so.
You'd be surprised. Okay, story, real life story. So during the communist era, we had the dictator family. Mm-hmm. And the communist regime was really against intellectuals because the common worker was more important for some reason. But once they got into power, the wifey wanted to appear smart. She'd only graduated from the 4th grade of school, so she just finished primary school. But they somehow made her a doctor in chemistry. And then she was giving this speech where she was reading formulas, not difficult formulas. I mean, it was CO2. And she read it something that I don't know how well it translates into English, but instead of saying CO2, which everybody would know how to read that, she said CO2. The problem with that is that in Romanian, when you do that, that word actually means something. It means a big tail. Like a tail of a dog. It means a big tail. And nobody could tell what the hell she was saying. The doctor in chemistry. And she did that reading her paper on TV.
Oh my goodness.
Live broadcast or something. Oh God damn it. So, they ruled this country for a lot of years. So there you go. And we have similar members of parliament right now, so.
I guess being smart isn't a requirement for being in charge.
No, and the thing is, like, I think we've lost our political class. We don't have politicians, which I think the US still has good politicians who are trained to do that. We don't. We just have people who want to get in power so that they can steal for themselves.
We have plenty of that too, but I think we do have some politicians who are doing what you would think a politician would do.
Yeah, we've lost that.
Yeah. That's unfortunate because I'm sure there's plenty of people who would be good at that if they wanted to, but
yeah, but they don't want to because the system is very corrupt. And I think this is the result of a regime that consistently oppressed intellectuals.
Yeah.
This is the result. This is what you're left with because the intellectuals either died in prison, left the country, or learned to keep a very low profile.
Yeah.
So that's how it happens. In case it wasn't obvious, I hate communism with all my heart. So, yeah. But then
I thought of a better tagline for our video, Alina. It can be like, come for the media discussion, stay for Romanian Politics 101.
Oh God. And the sad part is that I don't know very much about current politics in Romania because I just tune it out. It's so stupid that I just tune it out because otherwise I'd be angry all the time and I can't afford to do that. I want to live past my 40s, so I can't really have a heart attack by then.
Right.
Also, I realize as I see myself on the camera that I look creepy as hell. So yeah, at first, because I first saw myself on the camera that I used to film, and that looked even creepier than this, and I thought, it's fine, you know, but as time passes, I'm like, happy Halloween. It's fine. I could fit right in, you know, Halloween party right now. So
I did my makeup like that for like a decade, so.
really? Oh my god, that's cool. I started late, and by the time I started to do my makeup, I wasn't as rebellious, I think.
I never wear any makeup, so.
Oh my god.
In fact, I'm already stressing out because my sister's getting married soon, and I'm going to have to wear makeup for the wedding. And I'm like, oh god damn, I don't want to wear makeup. I'm already rebelling against the makeup artist, and I haven't even met her yet.
Oh, you're getting a makeup artist. That's fine. The problem would be if you would have to do your own makeup, then it would suck. Like really suck. Because if you don't like makeup, you don't learn to do it. So if you do it yourself, no, it might look like this. Although this was on purpose. Like I was trying to. Actually, no, I was just trying to look pretty for the stream, and it went wild, and I went with it.
It's not much of a day look, really.
Yeah,
like,
no.
It's much more of a night look.
It is. No, but I thought I have plenty of time to get my makeup on, film the tag, erase my makeup, put new makeup on, and then do the stream.
No.
No. No. No, because I spent too much time listening to Morningstar. Oh, speaking of that, because I'm bringing us back to our initial conversation, let's talk audiobooks, because they're a different medium, actually, than books. And I wanted to see what you thought about them, because when I started listening to audiobooks, I kind of hated it because I couldn't get into the story. And now, the more I listen to it, the more I love it. But I feel like a lot depends on the narrator and how you feel about the narrator. So I was thinking maybe I could get your opinions on it.
I really like audiobooks where there's different actors for different voices and stuff. I think those are a lot of fun. But as a general rule, I have a really hard time focusing on an audiobook because there's nothing visual to it. And so my eyes wander and I start to think about random other stuff. And then I'm like, oh, it's been 10 minutes. I have no idea what just happened. So that's my biggest problem with audiobooks. I like them and I really like the idea of like the voices and all that stuff. Like, I don't like someone who just reads it and doesn't do any voices. But like, I like either someone doing some voices or different voices for different people, like from different actors. But I just have a hard time focusing on it.
Yeah, I'd say I'm probably similar to Sarah. And I think because I am such a visual person, you do get distracted and you start looking around, what else is going on? What else should I be doing? And then you're not paying attention to the book. And I think maybe, you know, I work from home. Perhaps if I had a commute and I was going to be sitting on the train for half an hour, something like that, then maybe it would work. I have listened to one or two, and I've only listened to one or two. Now, don't laugh, Alina. The only reason I've listened to one or two is because they were narrated by Benedict Cumberbatch or Tom Hiddleston. If Benedict Cumberbatch or Tom Hiddleston have done any narration work, as they both have done a bit, then I'm there.
Yeah.
You know, if it's an actor I really love, I might have looked one or two up. But I don't really go in for them just because I'm not in a position where I could read them and be able to concentrate on them without getting distracted.
Yeah, no, I mean, I got into them because I could listen to them while I was driving. And now that I don't drive that much, I mean, not on my own anyway, I listen to them when I'm with the dog because I'm just walking the dog and sitting in the doggy park watching over him. And that would be that time. So now I can listen to the audiobooks. But at first, I had the same problem as Sarah mentioned. I would listen to them for a while, and then I was like, wait, what? What happened? I completely lost track of it. Now I can actually focus enough that I'm listening to the audiobook and talk with someone if they ask for something quick. Otherwise, I have to stop it. But yeah, I think it's really important that you like the narrator. Not just if they are doing voices and accents. If for some reason you just don't like their reading or their accent or something, it's lost. The entire experience is lost.
Yeah.
I I think we just need to do a shout out to all the people watching to let them all know I'm now in Sunday, everybody.
Oh, wow.
So you're everyone else, you're all in Saturday, but I am now in Sunday. I'm basically time traveling here in the middle of the
I just started Saturday.
Oh God. I'm
1 minute
terribly.
Good night, everybody.
Oh wow, that's nice. I feel bad now. I feel terrible because first I made Sarah wake up at the crack of dawn, and then I made you stay up late, like super late. But then I think I like the fact that we can get together and chat, and we're all from different continents. I think that's super fun. But it kind of makes it impossible, and someone will always be sleepy for some reason.
Yeah.
Either it's too early or too late. Because
And
last
as I
time,
said before, I don't care when you do them. I can work with whatever.
which is pretty freaking awesome. Because otherwise I'd be like, I can't. There's no time in the day when I can do it. Because last time I think it was super late for me and super early for Nicki, and everybody in the US was fine.
Yeah.
It was like afternoon.
We'll just take turns.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine either way. I can do it super late. It's fine. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed today, especially since I rambled on about unrelated stuff for half the stream.
It wasn't boring though.
You say that now.
Interesting.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it's interesting for the 3 people watching, which is probably the 3 of us.
Well, it's definitely not me, because unless it counts us actually here on Google Hangouts, I don't have it open anywhere else. So,
Okay,
so
I have it open.
that must be at least one person.
At least
not
one
us.
person. We apologize.
Hello.
For the rambling. I'm pretty sure it might be my boyfriend because he sometimes tunes in just to support me.
Hello,
Yeah, my husband's still unconscious, so it's not him.
Yeah. So yeah, this has been really fun. Should we do some closing statements for the initial topic? I think I can control myself and not go on a tangent again. I can try. That's what I can promise right now. So yeah, let's go.
Okay, I don't know what we're supposed to say though.
I don't know, just something general about other media and it inspiring writing. Let's just pretend we had a topic at some point.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I have to say is the rest of my day is going to consist of watching creepy things because I'm getting ready for Nano and I have to start setting my tone early. So.
Oh, that's cool. That's actually a cool way of prepping.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time just being surrounded by creepy stuff because that's what I like. So.
Sounds like a plan, man. I'm going to copy that. Not that I didn't copy your vlogs and Vlogtober in general. And
oh, you're silly. I did not come up with Vlogtober.
I know, but I've seen you mentioning it, and then I'm doing that too. Yeah.
Okay, I'll do one. I guess mine would be just to close off the discussion of other media to say that I think perhaps maybe readers or fellow authors in some cases might think that because we're writers that all we care about is the written word. But I think as our discussion has shown today that other media can have a great influence on our writing, whether it's as inspiration in a general sense or in a more focused sense, or something that we just like to have in the background as Sarah does and that when she's writing. So I think it's just sort of the discussion said how important all media is for the creative process, no matter what type of media we're actually producing.
Yeah, that's very true. And I would like to close this off by saying that while it's really helpful and impactful, don't ever use other media as a form of procrastination. And I say so from experience, because I would excuse my binge watching of something is I'm just stimulating my creativity.
Research, Alina.
It's research. It's me learning about storytelling, which is great and it's helpful, but it should be there for a reason and not a reason to get away from writing and slack off. I'm sure not many people do it, but I'm a pro at it. I'm definitely a pro. So yeah, that would be my final piece of advice. That's not a rant. I'd like to point out it's not a rant. I stayed on topic, yeah? I feel like we should have a cookie system. Like when I stay on track and don't ramble, I get a cookie. And if I get
perhaps we should do it the other way there, Alina. Maybe you should have like the equivalent of a swear jar. And every time you go off topic, you have to put some money in the kitty.
That would work. The only problem is I never have cash. So I should just drop my card in there and yeah, I'm done for the month. So yeah, first of all, thank you so much for being here again. We're going to do this again next month. And I will try to keep the topic away from NaNoWriMo because I think everybody will be talking about that.
Yeah.
So we'll just be cool and do something else. Ghosted stuff would work. So thank you again for joining me. I really do appreciate it, especially since it's at such crazy hours. And thanks to everyone, one of you who was watching, and to everyone who will watch the recording, because I know a lot more people watch it that way. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.